Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is um today is Friday. Excuse me, there. Friday, May 2nd, 2025. Hopefully, everybody's having had a good week, and I hope everybody's ready for the weekend. Sure, many of you have big plans, as of course we're now into May here. We're of course just over a third of the way through of the year. For we're through April into early May here. So, and I know people are probably looking forward to Memorial Day around the corner, the start of the summer holidays, getting out to the beach and all that. Um, yeah. So as usual, we're gonna just give it a few minutes, give people a chance to um, come in. If you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything else, if anything grabs your attention tonight that we talk about, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, we're just, as I said, just waiting on people to show up here. Trying to get the word out as best I can. I know it's Friday, so everybody's probably out partying or getting ready to go out and party. Party hardy like it's 1999, right? Um, if there's any other people share with. Anyways, yeah. So today I finished off, of course, my viewing for January 1937 on my cartoon watching. Saw the Betty Boop cartoon House Cleaning Blues, where Grampy came over wanting to give wanting to go for like a afternoon drive, only for Betty to say no, she couldn't because she had to clean her house after a big party the night before. Only for Grampy to tell her to, yeah, go put on your duds. I'll take care of it. And Grampy, as always, as voiced by, of course, Everett Clark, um, you know, was able to find some very inventive ways to do it. And then Ub Iwerks, who at this point, who by early 1937 moved over from Columbia after Celebrity Productions had shut down their cartoon productions. Ub Iwerks moved over to Charles Mintz Studios, Charles Mintz Productions, and was doing some of the color rhapsodies and had of course done the short skeleton frolics. And as I was watching that, I was remembering how that looked very. Now granted, I knew this was probably because of the fact he also had a similar cartoon for Walt Disney back in the early 30s called the Skeleton Dance. Actually, I think it was even further back than that, but maybe 1929. So, some interesting stuff. Anyways, we're at the 3.5 minute, coming close to 4 minutes. So, I guess I'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. So, for tonight, gonna go over 3 articles from Me TV Tunes. We're going to do some like profile cartoons, including a number of actors and actresses from the Andy Griffith Show actually ended up going on to do some do voice work. We'll look at that, of course. That'll be the first article we'll look at. Let's see. Jerry Mouse is taught to dance by Gene Kelly. That's another interesting article. And then, of course, we'll see the many occupations of Yosemite Sam. So, with all that being said, as we now are at the 4.5 minute mark, I think I'll go ahead and get started here a little earlier than I usually do. Usually I wait all the way up to the 5 minute mark, but I think we can get things going here a little early. And again, as I said, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Okay, so let's get into this. First up, this first article we're doing tonight. All right. Cartoon voice actors from the Andy Griffith Show, from Mayberry to Bedrock. Article published on April 30th, which was Wednesday, by MeTV Toon staff. The Andy Griffith Show launched hundreds of careers, including cartoon careers. Over on MeTV, we are celebrating the month of Mayberry and all things Andy Griffith. So we decided to take a look at which Andy Griffith actors stepped into the world of voice acting. Some of them became prolific cartoon voice actors, while others were the voices behind your favorite cartoon commercial characters. And the first guy we're looking at, of course, is Hal Smith, who on the Andy Griffith Show portrayed Otis Campbell. So the man who played the town drunk was an accomplished voice actor, lending his voice to cartoons by Walter Lantz Productions, Hanna-Barbera, Walt Disney, and Warner Brothers. One of his first voice acting jobs was on the Huckleberry Hound Show, where he provided additional voices. He was also one of the later voice actors for Elmer Fudd. Another show he provided additional voices to was The Flintstones, which he worked on for 36 episodes, and was even the voice of Santa Claus. Playing Santa on The Flintstones led to Smith playing Santa in 10 other Christmas specials. The most well-known voice acting role was Al in Winnie the Pooh. Now, that last one I didn't know. I didn't know he was Al in Winnie the Pooh, but Santa Claus, of course, I knew he did it. He was Santa Claus for a number of Christmas specials, particularly the Hanna-Barbera ones. He was Santa Claus, of course, in the Flintstones Christmas special in 1964, Christmas Flintstone, Christmas Flintstone from 1964, the Flintstones Christmas, Flintstones Family Christmas. He was even the voice of Santa Claus in Yogi's First Christmas, as you all know, my all-time favorite Christmas special, and what's the last one? Oh yeah, I think he also voiced Santa Claus for Casper's First Christmas, I believe, as well. Let's see. One other voice role for those Christians out there who have listened to Focus on the Family over the years and listened to some of their radio programming. You also would remember him as Avery Whitaker in the radio kids drama, Adventures. Okay, I can't even remember the full name now, but he was Avery Whitaker in a Christian radio series as well, Focus on the Family. So maybe what I should do is go find out what that was. I know it started out as The Adventures, but let me just see real quick. It's real quick here. Oh yeah, and he also provided one of the other things that he was known for as well is providing additional voices for providing additional voices for Clutch Cargo in 1959 as well. So that was another one he did. Trying to find the role. I know it was a radio Adventures in Odyssey. That's what it was. He was John Avery Whitaker in Adventures in Odyssey. That's what it was. That's right. Trying to find that thing. It was a focus, again, a focus on the family production. So, anyways, that was more later in his. Hey there, Fitzgerald. All right. So, anyways, moving on to the next actor from the Andy Griffith Show who lent his voice to cartoons. Howard McNear, who played Floyd the Barber on the Andy Griffith Show. Floyd the Barber also took a snip at voice acting, playing the Doctor on the Flintstones for 3 episodes: The Split Personality, The Hypnotist, and Barney the Invisible. His voice acting career did not last long because McNear was getting more live action roles and more airtime on Andy Griffith. Hope Summers, who was Clara Edwards. Now, for those of you who came in late, going over an article talking about some of the some of the actors and actresses from the Andy Griffith Show who provided voices for cartoon characters in television commercials and all that. So that's what we're doing, just in case you came in a little late and didn't catch the first part of the show. So, anyways, so while Hope Summers did not appear in any cartoon, she stepped into the recording booth and lent her voice to one of the sweetest commercial characters around, Ms. Butterworth. So for those of you who are probably, I think, growing up maybe in the 70s and 80s, and you remember, seeing the Mrs. Butterworth pancake syrup bottle coming to life, the person providing the voice for her was Hope Summers right there. So Alan Melvin. Alan Melvin is, of course, quite a well-known name in television. Of course, live action. Of course, let's see. Alan Melvin played many roles on Andy Griffith, like escaped prisoners, hotel detectives, and recruiting sergeants. Of course, from some of his other pretty well-known live action stuff, I think one you can see right there, he was Sam the Butcher, Alice's Beau, and Brady Bunch as well. But anyways, he is most well known as, of course, Sam from the Brady Bunch. In addition to his live action career, he was also an accomplished voice actor. In the cartoon world, Melvin's characters included Magilla Gorilla, Drooper from the Banana Splits, Pumpkin Puss, and from the New Adventures of Flash Gordon, King Volton, and Thrun, the Lion Man. Yeah, I think Magilla, among his voice acting credits, Magilla Gorilla is probably his most well known. It's his story. It's like the one starring role that he has. So of course voicing characters opposite of like Gene Vanderbilt and Don Messick on that show. Eleanor Donahue, Ellie Walker. Eleanor Donahue appeared in 3 cartoons. Now, of course, she was Ellie Walker in Andy Griffith. I think let's see. I think she was on another like 50s, 60s. I think it might have been I don't know if it was a Patty Duke show or it was one of those 50s. She was on another kind of family comedy there. And of course, later in terms of her live action roles, she later played one of Dr. Mike's sisters on on Dr. Quinn. I think the second one. But anyways, Eleanor Donahue appeared in 3 cartoons. She played Monsterella on Biker Mice from Mars, and Queen Eleonora in the Legion of Prince Valiant. Her most widely recognized cartoon role was Mom on Eek the Cat series. There you go. Ken Berry, who played Sam Jones in on Andy Griffith. Of course, he also starred in the Andy Griffith spinoff Mayberry RFD, where he was the lead character. He also had a guest role on the Brady Bunch, and then let's see, and he also played Thelma Harper's son on Mama's Family as well. So Ken Berry provided additional voices for the animated series Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, played Seymour Gray in the new Batman Adventures. He also voiced the titular character to the English-dubbed Swedish cartoon Peter No Tail. There we go with that. All right, so let's see. Parley Bear, who played Mayor Roy Stoner on the Andy Griffith Show. So Bear began his voice acting career in radio, where he appeared in programs like The Harold Perry Show and Granby's Green Acres. He voiced the Owl in the Snowmobile, Christ Crosshall in Disney's Paul Bunyan, and Cat in the Man and Cat. Fun fact, he was also the voice of Ernie Keebler, the Keebler Elf, in cookie commercials from 1969 to 1997. So wow, probably his most well-known role was as Ernie Keebler. That's Parley Bear right there. Of course, considering it the way his name is spelled, I wonder if he's related to, I don't know this for certain, but I wonder if he's related to Max Bear, who played Jethro on Beverly Hillbillies. Kind of wondering about that. Anyways, moving on, of course, to the next actor from Andy Griffith who lent their voice to cartoons. Jack Burns, who was Warren Ferguson on the Andy Griffith Show. Jack Burns has appeared in many cartoons, including The Simpsons, Animaniacs, and Darkwing Duck. But his most famous cartoon character was Ralph Kane, the crazy next-door neighbor on Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. Now, Wait Till Your Father Gets Home, of course, that's the one where the lead character was voiced by Tom Bosley of Happy Days fame. You know, it was kind of it was for its time back in the 70s when it came out. I think it was actually aired in the evening times, in the prime time. It was for its time an adult animated series. It was kind of set up kind of much like the Flintstones in a way. Kind of a sitcom, animated sitcom. George Lindsay, Goober Pile, who is of course the cousin. I think he was the cousin or brother or something of Gomer Pyle. But you bet you didn't know that Goober Pyle was the voice behind characters in your favorite Disney movies. He played Lafayette in the Aristocats, Trigger the Vulture in Robin Hood, and Deadeye the Rabbit in The Rescuers. He also voiced the character Wolf in the new Misadventures of Ichabod Crane. So he lent his voice to some Disney movies. Don Knotts. Now, of course, Don Knotts, the one role I do know him from, of course. Well, Yeah, the one role I know him for is he basically did himself in an episode of the new Scooby-Doo movies. So let's see. Don Knotts, who of course portrayed Barney Fife on Andy Griffith, as well as Ralph Furley on the later seasons of Three's Company. Don Knotts was in over 20 cartoons, including Inspector Gadget, the new Scooby-Doo movies, Garfield and Friends, Wait Till Your Father Gets Home, and Johnny Bravo. One of his best cartoon roles was T.W. Turtle in the majorly underrated classic cartoon film Cats Don't Dance. Of course, Don Knotts is not to be confused with another Don who is a pretty well-known cartoon voice actor as well, Don Adams. With that, so there we go. So those are all the actors from the Andy Griffith Show who lent their voices to cartoons. So now we'll get ready to move on to our next article here. And of course, a friendly reminder to everybody, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that, let's move on to this next article here. When Jerry met Gene Kelly. Now, Jerry, of course, being Jerry Mouse, when we scroll down. Gene Kelly taught Jerry how to dance. Article posted on April 30th, 2025 by MeTV Tunes. And there he is right there. So let's get into this then. Don't you love an old Hollywood movie with glamorous costumes and big dance numbers? Sometimes when talking about the golden age of animation, we forget that it occurred at the same time as old Hollywood. And this is a story about the two worlds colliding in the 1945 film Anchors Aweigh. It all started when actor Gene Kelly decided he wanted to dance with a cartoon mouse. Oh, wow. Sounds like a very interesting story. A movie follows two sailors on leave in Hollywood where Kelly's character, Joe Brady, visits a school where the children ask him how he won his medals. He quickly tells them a story about how he visited a grumpy little king who outlawed singing and dancing and taught the king how to sing and dance. The scene is composed in a way that takes place in the children's imagination as Gene tells them the story, so it's a mystical land filled with animated scenery and talking animals. Kelly originally approached Walt Disney to try to have Mickey Mouse play the king. Disney turned him down flat, so Kelly went to the next up-and-coming cartoon mouse, Jerry. Kelly went to Tom and Jerry producer Fred Quimby, who also turned him down. According to Bill Hanna's memoir, A Cast of Friends, Kelly next approached Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera. Quote, when Gene walked into our office, it was apparent that he was brimming with creative enthusiasm about something. Joe was the opener, delivered with a grin and an Irish lilt. Got away to make your little mouse Jerry into a star. Unquote. Hanna and Barbera argued that Jerry was already a star, but they were excited by the idea. As a team, Hanna and Barbera had developed the method of limited animation and were trying to test new methods of creating animation. Hannah said of the concept, quote, including animation figures in live action sequences had been done in a limited form in the past. Just look back to Bosco the Talking Kid, among others. That was done by Harmon and Ising. Fleischer did some with Betty Boop and Popeye. So let's see. But here was a chance to combine the two mediums in a really sparkling and spectacular way, unquote. Hanna-Barbera wanted to say yes to Gene Kelly, but Quimby was their boss, and they had to go with his decision. Yeah. They went to the directors to try to get somebody on his side there, it looks like. Ever determined, Gene Kelly decided to go straight to the top for this one. He asked Louis B. Mayer, head of MGM Studios, to put Jerry in the film. Mayer approved the idea, and suddenly Hanna-Barbera were on set with Gene Kelly. They created the scene by choreographing Kelly's dance scene, filming it, and creating a first draft pencil animation to show where Jerry would go in the scene. Once that had Kelly's approval, Hanna-Barbera and their team set out animating Jerry in the dance scene. Jerry also talks in this movie, having to explain his dilemma as a king with no dance skills. Sarah Berner was a natural choice to voice King Jerry. She had voiced him in other cartoons like The Zoot Cat and The Mouse Comes to Dinner. She also acted in cartoons for Warner Brothers, Walter Lantz Productions, and Walt Disney Productions. Yeah, I know one of the roles I think she did for Warner Brothers, in fact, was Mama Buzzard in the debut of Beaky Buzzard, the buzzard that tried to get bugs in one cartoon there. Let's see, moving on here. The film turned out to be highly popular, and critics loved the surprise of seeing Jerry in the movie. Hannah reflected on the Anchors Away, quote, the sequence turned out to be the highlight of the movie, and its popular success encouraged the hope in both Joe and me that we would be able to work on other combined live-action animation projects, unquote. With the success of Anchors Away, Hanna-Barbera proved that a live-action film could feature animated characters in a high-quality and engaging way, and it set the bar for later live-action animation crossovers like Mary Poppins, Space Jam, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Watch the Tom and Jerry show on MeTV Tunes, weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific. Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central, 1 Pacific, and Sundays at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Pacific. I do need to go back to because there was one thing I did forget to do, as I normally do when I do these articles, as a way of promotion, of course. I should have did this when I saw it down there before. But Wait Till Your Father Gets Home on MeTV Tunes every day at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 Central, 8 Pacific, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 Central, 8:30 Pacific. All right, so there we go with that. So now let's get ready to move on to the last article we're going to do tonight. Many jobs of Yosemite Sam. Anyways. And of course, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the screen, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, let's get into this. The many jobs of Yosemite Sam. Here's a tiny little man of many talents. Article published May 1st, which is yesterday, by MeTV2 staff. So look at all the different characters that Sam has done. I have to go through all this. Yosemite Sam began his cartoon career in 1945, about 10 to 15 years later than the rest of his Looney Tunes cast members. He was developed technically more like 5 to 10 years. Not 10 to 15, it would have been 1930. But most of the ones that Yosemite would have been interacting with would have been coming out between 1935 and 1940. Porky Pig, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck. So, but anyways, he was developed by Fritz Frayling because Bugs Bunny needed a more formidable opponent than Elmer Fudd. Jumping into the rodeo at the 11th hour meant Sam had a lot to prove, and he put his talents on display with his many, many jobs. His real job was being an antagonist to Bugs Bunny. But in the 33 cartoons they appeared in together, Sam's job put him in a lot of silly yet dangerous scenarios. Let's take a look at Sam's many careers. Train Robber Bandit. In his cartoon debut, Hair Trigger, Yosemite Sam attempts to rob a train, specifically the mail car, where Bugs Bunny was goofing around. This attempted robbery became the first of many battles with Bugs. Starving Hermit. Oh yeah, this one. This one, of course, I do distinctly remember this one. So, in Along Came Daffy, Yosemite Sam is a starving hermit in a remote cabin. This cartoon is one of 2 Yosemite Sam cartoons without Bugs Bunny, but it does feature Daffy Duck and Yosemite Sam's twin brother. And of course, that twin brother had whereas you see how Sam has red hair there, has like red hair, red eyelashes, red beard and all that, red mustache and beard and all that, red mustache. His twin brother had black hair. So Pirate. Yosemite Sam trades in his guns and spurs for a sword and treasure chest in Buccaneer Bunny. He also works as a pirate in Captain Hairblower and This Is a Life. Cowboy Western Outlaw. Probably again his most recognizable job, I guess, that he had. Cowboy Western character. Cowboy Western Outlaw. The first cartoon where Yosemite Sam is officially considered a cowboy is High Diving Hare, where Bugs Bunny brings his circus act to an old western town. This is Sam's job that he is most associated with, but he only appeared as a cowboy a few times in the golden age of animation. He also has this job in Bugs Bunny Rides Again, A Star is Born, and wild and woolly hair. But I do think that this is probably his most, I guess this and then of course the train robber bandit gimmick as well. You can combine those as those are the characters that he's probably most well known for, I would say. Sea Captain. The line between Yosemite Sam pirate jobs and sea captain jobs is blurred at best. In Mutiny on the Bunny, he is the captain of a ship called the Sad Sack, and he tries to recruit crew members. He only recruits Bugs Bunny, who quickly takes over the ship. Yeah, and there were a lot of cartoons, not just with Sam, but with a few other characters, where where they'd show where like ship captains would sit there in the port and literally kidnap people. What the term they called it was Shanghaiing people, named after, of course, I don't know if it was a province or city in China, Shanghai, China, where I guess the practice may have originated from. But you know, Soldier. Bunker Hill Bunny is a light parody of the American Revolution. Instead of Britain versus American forces, Bugs and Yosemite battle on the teams we versus they. Either way, Yosemite Sam is the bad guy, so natural he's a redcoat. Hunter. This time around, Yosemite Sam had been placed into Elmer Fudd's usual role of straight up hunting bugs. As a hunter, he's smarter than Elmer Fudd in the sense that he is harder to trick, but he's much more trigger happy and thoughtless in his actions. Rabbit Every Monday is the only cartoon where Sam plays a hunter. Homeowner. This isn't exactly a job, but in fair-haired hair, Yosemite Sam is a homeowner who builds his house over Bug's rabbit hole. And there are a few cartoons like that where people were building buildings or building stuff in or around Bugs' home. Okay, I remember another cartoon where they were trying to build a freeway over Bugs' home, and they ended up having to build the freeway around it. Mayoral candidate. Yosemite Sam runs for mayor in Ballot Box Bunny, and naturally Bug runs against him, just for laughs. Yosemite Sam's campaign offers mostly empty promises like, there's enough fresh air and sunshine in the great country of ours for everybody, and I'll see to it that you'll get your share. Oh boy. He also uses his iteration of Theodore Roosevelt's famous quote, I speak loud and I carry a bigger stick and I use it too. Actually, I don't know if that was actually, I don't know if that was, I guess it was Theodore. I thought that might have been FDR who said that, but now that I think about it, no, that probably is Theodore who said that. Would make more. I guess it would make more sense. Gold Digger. Oh yeah, he had this like a couple of roles, couple of cartoons. In both Hair Trimmed and Honey's Money, Yosemite Sam has no job and woos old ladies with big fortunes. In Honey's Money, he succeeds in marrying her, but her large son nearly breaks Sam's back playing with playful horse rides. Yeah, her son was quite literally twice Sam's size. Prospector. Yes, He was a literal gold digger as well as a figurative one. Yosemite Sam takes part in the Klondike Gold Rush in 14 Karat Rabbit, where he starts as a claim jumper, but then tries his hand at prospecting. Bank robber. Perhaps inspired by D.B. Cooper in Hair Lift. So Yosemite Sam robs a bank, drives a getaway car to the airport, hijacks a plane piloted by Bugs, of course, and then parachutes away to freedom. Unfortunately for him, he lands right in a police car. That's funny. Desert Explorer. Desert Explorer. Yosemite Sam has explored the Old West, the Yukon, and the high seas. Next is the desert in Sahara Hair. Bugs mistakenly tunnels to the Sahara Desert instead of Miami, and Riff Raff Sam chases him for trespassing. Roman Legionnaire. So excuse me a moment. I should probably do this off camera. Excuse me a moment here. I'm going to put on some music while I'm gone. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back now. Let's and get back to the article here. Roman Legionnaire. Yosemite Sam next job is Roman Legionnaire. And Roman Legionnaire, specifically, he is the captain of the Praetorian Guard serving Emperor Nero. Castaway. Surviving is the most important job of all. Yosemite Sam is castaway in Robinson Crusoe. While he initially tries to eat Bugs, together they escape the island and sail off into the sunset towards San Francisco. Mountaineer. Now, when we say Yosemite Sam is a mountaineer, it's not because he's passionate about mountain climbing. In Piker's Peak, the mayor announces a mountain climbing race with a prize of 50,000 kronkites. So it's about the money. Here comes the money. Here comes the money. Money, 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 money. Night. Nighty Night Bugs was Yosemite Sam's only Oscar-winning performance. He is the Black Knight, protector of the Singing Sword, which is immediately stolen by Bugs Bunny. While Yosemite Sam may not be the best knight, he rides a dragon. Backwards, mind you. Well, maybe not. He just turned his head. I thought he was actually turned around. Grand Duke. Of course, Yosemite Sam is a Nepo baby. And from Hair to Hair, he plays a Grand Duke whose uncle, the king, has cut off his allowance because of his bad temper. Sam must prove to Bugs Bunny that he can maintain his composure, not fly off the handle. Guess who wins? Bugs, of course. Alien. Number 19. Look at all these different occupations that Sam has had. Thus far, 19. How many does he have here? 20, 21, 22. Look at all these. over 20. He's got 24 occupations altogether. Dang, dude's busy. Alien. Marvin the Martian is out of a job because in Lighter Than Hair, Yosemite Sam is the alien around these parts. He sends robots to capture bugs. Some of the scenery here, you probably could, even though you probably would have seen similar scenes in like Tom and Jerry cartoons. Viking. Sam the Terrible, also known as Prince Violent. Yosemite Sam attempts to pillage a castle, and Bugs uses an elephant to fight back. Chef. In Shishkabugs, Yosemite Sam is a very grumpy chef to a petulant king who demands rabbit stew. Prison Warden. Bugs Bunny accidentally tunnels into a prison, and Sam the Warden mistakes him for a prisoner trying to escape. The cartoon, Big House Bunny, ends with Sam releasing Bugs because he's causing too much trouble in the prison, which then gets Sam imprisoned, too. The Red Baron. In a parody of the Red Baron, Dumb Patrol begins with Baron Sam von Spam looking for a fight. He finds one in a classic World War I aircraft battle with Bugs Bunny. This is one of Sam's final cartoons. Banker Scrooge. Oh yeah, this one I believe was probably the one for the Bugs Bunny Christmas special. Perhaps Sam's most important role was playing the miserly villain Ebenezer Scrooge in Bugs Bunny's Christmas Carol. Watch Bugs Bunny and Friends on MeTV Tunes weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. Pacific, and 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific, and Sunday at 12 noon, 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Pacific. Oh, there we go. That's all of the articles we're doing tonight. I think we got enough in there to. Yeah, we got 48 minutes into this, so we're gonna definitely make an hour here. So, with that being said, of course, let me now. So now I guess we'll move on to the wrestling wrap up, because we do have quite a bit to talk about. We, of course, going back to last night's, Ring of Honor and Dynamite shows, looking at tonight's SmackDown as well as tomorrow night's AEW Collision. See what's all happening in the world of wrestling here. Let's get right into that. So first off, we're going to look at last night's Ring of Honor show, which in this particular case was more or less a selection of different matches happening at different venues over the night. You had Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman on commentary. Let's see. So the opening match saw in her return in her first match since signing full time with AEW, Mina Shirakawa defeated Layla Gray in just under 5 minutes in a match that was taped back on April the 12th in Springfield, Massachusetts for Ring of Honor. In a six-man tag match, in a match that was taped on April 23rd in New Orleans, Louisiana, Johnny TV and the M&M Collection defeated the team of Rosario Grillo and the Russell brothers of Alan and Cameron Russell in a match from Boston, Massachusetts on the 16th. Red Velvet retained the Ring of Honor Women's World Television title over La Catalina. And a tag team match taped on the 17th from Boston, Massachusetts. The Frat House members of Griff Garrison and Cole Carter defeated the Spanish announce team of Angelico and Serpentico. After the match, of course, Jack Jameson and Preston Vance joined the other two members in the ring. They tried to take Serpentico's mask, only for Ring of Honor World Champion Bandito to come out and help fight off the Frat House. So there we go with that one. Now also happening on last night's Impact was a live edition of Impact from the Brent Event Center in Irvine, California, with, of course, Tom Hannafin and Matthew Rainwalt on commentary. The show opened up with Mike Santana defeating Isaiah Moore in just over a minute. In a match for the X Division title, Moose defeated Zachary Wentz. Maggie Lee defeated one half of the two-time former TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Jody Threat, who had, of course, Danny Luna in her corner. The youngest in charge, Leon Slater, defeated Casey Navarro, one half of the First Class duo. He had AJ Francis, and then the main event saw Frank Kazarian team with the new TNA Knockouts or TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Nemeth brothers, Nick and Ryan Nemeth, defeat TNA World Heavyweight Champion Joe Hendry and the Hardy Boys. So that's all we got for what happened on last night's stuff. Now to look ahead to tonight's lineup, as it were. So I find something. Okay. And we look ahead first off to tonight's SmackDown card, as they continue to work their way towards Backlash in just under a week now, and just over a week rather. From the Wells Fargo Arena in Des Moines, Iowa. The one match that has been signed for tonight's show is The Miz will be taking on Aleister Black, who just made his return to WWE last week. So that will be on the USA show. And then, of course, looking ahead to tomorrow night's Collision. Tomorrow night's Collision on, I believe it might actually. I think this week it might be on TBS. I think, but let's just see here. Coming from TBS. Coming from Atlanta. Coming from the Adrian Phillips Theater at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. There will be a live showing of AEW Collision. Already scheduled for the show, Josh Alexander will be taking on Brody King in a one-on-one match. And then in a AEW Women's World Title Eliminator match, Toni Storm will try to fend off the challenge of Lady Frost. As mentioned before, in these Eliminator matches, if the challenger can defeat the champion in these Eliminator challenges, then they earn a shot to challenge said champion at a later date. But so Lady Frost will now step up to try to earn a shot at Toni Storm by trying to defeat her in an Eliminator challenge. So that's all we got in terms of the wrestling wrap-up. Of course, I'll have all the results from that on Monday. Excuse me one more time. I need to go off camera here when I'll put up some music on before we start to wrap up here. So, all right, sorry about that. My nose is just itching like crazy, so trying to get it to stop itching, basically. But with that, let's go ahead now. Let's try to start wrapping this up by, of course, with today being Friday, May the 2nd, 2025. Let's go ahead and take a look back at this date in Nietzsche history. History! So, let me see now. All right, so first off, we're going to head back to 2001, which of course was 24 years ago today. On this date in 2001, the 125th issue of Archie's Double Digest magazine went on sale on this date back in 2001. It sold for $3.29. It was 192 pages. So obviously, quite a better deal than we saw, before there, but a day or so ago. But on this date, 24 years ago, 125th issue of Archie's Double Digest went on sale on this date in 2001. So, anyways, as we prepare to move on here, something by the cursor, of course. Sorry about that. All right, so moving on to the next piece of Nietzsche. As we move ahead to 2005, on this date 20 years ago today, WWE, of course, held its Monday Night Raw event from the TD Banquet Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. It was, of course, the night after the Backlash pay-per-view. Let's see. The number one was not Triple H. Let's see. So this started a tournament, of course. On the show, he started the Gold Rush tournament. The quarterfinal, the night opened up with a quarterfinal match, which Kane defeated Christian. Another quarterfinal match in the Gold Rush tournament. Shawn Michaels defeated Shelton Benjamin. You also had Edge defeat Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit defeat Triple H to advance in the semifinal. You also had in a match for the World Tag Team Championship, Rosie and the Hurricane defeated La Resistance of Robert Conway and Sylvain Grenier. So that's all that went down there. So that was 20 years ago. And 2005 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. As also on this date in 2005, on this date, 2005, Chapman Entertainment's Fifi and the Flower Tots premiered on Nick Jr. on this date back in 2005. It was originally done by United Kingdom. It was a British preschool children's animated television series created by Keith Chapman, who also created Bob the Builder series. That ran from May 2nd, 2005 to July 5th, 2010. The series was commissioned by Channel 5 and Nick Jr. and was the first production produced by Chapman Entertainment. Cosgrove Hall Films handled the animation. So on this date in 2005, Fifi and the Flower Tots premiered on both Channel 5 in Britain and Nick Jr. here in the States. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Of course, we'll be back here on Sunday as I'll be joined by R.J. Carter from Critical Blast, as we will be looking back at comics that went on sale in May of 1940. We'll be continuing our look back there. Bye-bye, everybody. This week we'll be focusing in on fiction now. We'll be reading some Sheena the Jungle, as well as Stuart Taylor and Weird Tales of the Supernatural. And of course, on Monday we'll be back with more Niche News. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here on Sunday. Bye.